Hello everybody, here we are today talking about what the world was like the last time the Edmonton Oilers were in the Stanley Cup Final back in 2006. So before we get started with that, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So with the Stanley Cup Final starting today, we are continuing our tradition that we've done over the past 3 years, now 4, looking at the team that has the longer Stanley Cup Final appearance drought. So we have the Oilers in this one, and in recent years, it's been more of big events that were positive. The first year I did it, I just did like a lot of major news. But yeah, for the most part, these are all going to be positive and just something that has you a little bit reminiscent about '06. Now, one is sad, but we're going to talk about that. So kicking it off, the most popular song of the year was Bad Day by Daniel Powter, which is a little bit funny because he is a Canadian. This song is still really popular, maybe not something that is played all the time on the radio or people listen to every day, but I do know a lot of people that could be able to sing the song word for word. So many views on YouTube and continues to get views to this day. The most popular movie or the highest grossing movie was Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, and I remember as a kid always loving to watch those movies. I don't know if you say Caribbean or Caribbean, I always heard Caribbean, and again, a lot of those movies you like to go back and watch from time to time. And then when it comes to Canadian politics, it was Stephen Harper that was the country's prime minister. As for the NBA, the Dallas Mavericks and the Miami Heat were playing each other. Of course, Dirk Nowitzki and then Dwayne Wade, as well as many other names, were playing in the NBA Finals. The Heat would go on to win that championship. Don't worry though, for fans of the Mavericks, they would go on to win in 2011. And then you would see Twitter launch. Now, I don't know if that means online in general or if that was just like a company where it was starting up in the beginning. Ironically, I didn't get Twitter until like 2020 when my wife finally had me make an account. But yeah, so if it is all the way back in '06, that is crazy. And then we have the only truly sad thing on this list of being Steve Irwin passing away this year. Now, it was after the Stanley Cup Final, but that doesn't really matter because, again, that is something that is way bigger than hockey. But as a kid, I loved watching his show, and whenever I was going to my mom's friend's house, we would always have it on in the TV for whatever reason. I don't know if they were just having me watch it so they could just gossip and talk or whatever. But I do remember her telling me about it when he passed away because we were in a parking lot and I was devastated. And to this day, I wish he would have obviously been able to be alive and here with us. But yeah, that was not a good thing from '06. Now, switching over to more positive things, the show Dexter was put out. Now, I know a lot of people kind of had mixed feelings on the show. I loved it. I didn't start watching it till I was in college, but I enjoyed watching it through college, like my freshman year, the first semester. A couple of my people that were on my floor, we all watched together, and it was really fun. And then I watched the reboot, hated the reboot, but either way, an iconic show debuted that year, and I always like to go back and watch a couple episodes from here or there. The episodes are really long though, so again, kind of hard to say, and I know they're going to be doing another series with it, so if you really like the show, hey, reminisce. The St. Louis Cardinals would go on to beat the Detroit Tigers in the World Series, and I don't really remember a whole lot from this, but I do remember watching a little bit as a kid. I think it was like Verlander and some of those other guys, very early stages of their career. I don't know if it was their first year, but from what I remember, the early 2000s, Detroit Tigers were pretty bad. The Cardinals hadn't won a World Series in a minute, so that's kind of cool. As for something else, gas prices in Canada that you can see here I listed were a lot lower than they were today, at least to my knowledge, and that is something that I think everybody will always be complaining about. The cheapest that I ever bought gas was like $1.17 a gallon, but guess what? That was in 2020. Ironically, around that same period, a few months later, it was $5.50 a gallon. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers played the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl. This was one that was questioned a lot during the game and is one of those that you go back and look at and hear a lot of people saying, was this rigged or not? Again, can't really say, but yeah, a lot of people weren't very happy with it because a lot of people don't like the Steelers. As for some other things, I had just finished up my first year of school in kindergarten because the preschool, they didn't have that where I went. I still don't think they do to this day. I don't know. I don't have any kids. But yeah, so there was all that. And I do know one devastating thing from '06 that is sad but more funny is Pluto was named, not appointed. And this was weird too because when I was in kindergarten, that very first year, it was appointed. When I went into first grade, it was not. Heartbreaking news for everybody, but again, it's appointed in my eyes. And then finally, circling back to hockey, the Edmonton Oilers beat the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim in the Western Conference Final in 5 games before losing to the Carolina Hurricanes in 7 games in the Stanley Cup Final. So, kind of interesting, the last time they made it to the Stanley Cup Final, they lost to a Southern hockey team. They play a Southern hockey team that is a favorite in this series. We'll see how things go though, but obviously one of those deals where I like to go back and look at this. 2006, I'm going to be honest, when you looked at a lot of the major stories and we're going through the months, this did not seem like a great year. I remembered it differently because I was 6 years old. But yeah, so we're highlighting the good stuff and just reminiscing about that. Of course, besides the Steve Irwin news, because that was unfortunate. And as we wrap up this video, I have to ask, who do you think is going to win the Stanley Cup Final? The Edmonton Oilers or the Florida Panthers? And what are some notable memories for you back in 2006? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And you go off hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.